Not for the first time, Drekkie Flint was in the goal, though for this once it was just for a visit. "I'm relieved that you got my message, Captain Flint," said the Gallower. He was an old beard of the lower classes, dressed in the prison variant of the Copperhat's uniform. An ostentatious mustache covered his mouth, still peppered with brown despite his age. "He's been asking after you since he got here, 3 weeks ago." "It was something of a surprise, I'll say, being invited to visit the Gaul," said Drekkie. Troik, his mechanical drill bill, peered suspiciously from his shoulder. "Usually one is compelled." "Are you sure he didn't give a name?" asked Kedren Gunson, ship's runsmith and the second member of Drekkie's away party. "Any clue? An inkling, perhaps?" Kedren walked behind the captain down the stairs. Adriman Adrimson came after him, muttering under his beard about what a pain this all was. As the Gallower was practically deaf, Kedren had to speak up to be heard. "Oh dear me, no." The Gallower took a long, loud sniff, mad as a bag of half-starved squigs, this one. "Sorry business this, but better than some I've seen. We often don't know what to do with the Githzaki. It's a shame. A crying shame to see someone of a good beard and talent lost to the Nuffendriesenkar something German. But it could happen to us all, and at least you've come." The elderly Gallower produced a voluminous handkerchief from a pouch on his belt and blew long and hard into it. The resulting honk echoed up and down the stairs for some time, because the stairs went down a very, very long way. However it seemed, they were wide and steel, well wrought with aether lamps set in the risers to show the way. Such was the artifice on display in a major skyport, even in Moharnar, whose principal character was held to be craftiness rather than craft. There was a touch of despair on the air and the chill of damp. They were no far from the port bottom and the cool indifference of Ulug's clouds beyond the final outermost hulls. "Oh, do forgive the pace," said the Gallower, who was shuffling ever so slowly. "It's my knees, you see. I'm not as spry as I was when I fared the airs like you. Invalidated me out because of me knees, though I wanted to stay. I envy you." "It's quite all right, Father Longbeard," said Drekkie respectfully. Although it wasn't. The old Duradin's pace was maddening. It made Drekkie's calves ache. Despite its aromatic boosts, his armor weighed on him hard at the speed made as it was from heavy iron star metal. His gold-caped beard braids clicked on his chest with every tortuous step. The lack of his weapons at his hip made him feel vulnerable. They've been forced to hand those over to the guardians at the entrance, and in Moharnar being unarmed always made the Duradin uneasy. He wanted to be in and out again as quickly as could be. That simply was not happening, and Drekkie suspected the sluggish pace was done for show. These minor functionaries often had an officiousness that outreached their power. The Gallower was no exception. "I see many an Argonaut go Githzak in my time," the old beard droned on. "One too many ventures gone wrong, lose all your aether on the diamond tables. A bad voyage, a poor choice, a doomed investment. So many ways a Duradin can lose his way and his mind." The Gallower shook his head sorrowfully. Crying shame. "Captain would know all about those kinds of failures," grumbled Adrim from the back. "I believe he sampled them all." His black eyebrows beetled beneath his shock of hair. In his dark face, his eyes glinted with permanent disapproval. "All right, Fairweather, all right," Drekkie said. "Knock off the whining in front of the nice old beard." Kedren sucked his beard into his mouth disapprovingly. Runic beads clattered. Paler skinned than Drekkie and Adriman in the ghostly light he looked like he'd returned from the dead. "Why did you bring Adrim along?" he said, jerking a leather-gloved thumb over his shoulder. "I've had enough of his grumbaki ways." "What?" Dreki sighed. I don't rightly know, he said, wishing the Galler would pick up the pace, and wondering if he might go that bit faster if Dreki gave him a push. Some sort of masochism, I expect. His cows are taji, blows to the back. Dreki paused for effect. The weak, poorly aimed dagger blows of a feeble, half-served Groby, he boomed, filling the stairwells with his voice. But blows nonetheless. He turned a little, the better to see Adrim's skull. Dreki winked. The lines on Adrim's forehead became deep as Argul. Troki gave a flutting titter. His little metal claws scratched on Dreki's armor. Muffled, indistinct voices cried out from below. Oh, now hush, hush, please, Captain, the Galler scolded. Best not to get the prisoners excited. My apologies, said Dreki. He almost sounded like he meant it. Anyway, these Gizaki, said the Galler, returning to his subject in the dogged manner of a Duradin determined to make a point. They end up here. I takes them in. They should be at the Zankulidon Dao instead, but there just isn't the money to treat them all, nor the beats to keep him in. Way I see it, someone's gotta look after him, though don't it cost? Why you? Said Kedron gruffly. Never known a Duradin of Morhar show such altruism. Oh, we kindly types exist, said the Galwar. Mornar's got a reputation, that's fair, but what kind of Duradin would we be if we let the disadvantaged suffer so? Call it my social duty. Kendred leaned forward to whisper to Dreki. He want money out of this. Naturally, said Dreki more loudly. Sure, the Allbeard was deaf enough not to hear. He's been building up to asking all the way down. They reached a short landing that ended in an armored door. He'll have you to your mate soon enough, said the Galwar, pulling up a ring of many keys. On the other side of the door, the voices shouted loudly. We'll see if he's any friend of ours, said Dreki, in case the Galwar thought he'll get some gold come what may. Said the Galwar at his keys. No. He moved the key around the ring with teeth grating squeal. He let it drop with a tiny clink. Let me see. He picked another key and squinted. Oh no. A slow and steady move around the keyring followed. Oh dear me. He pulled out his handkerchief and gave another long and impressive parp. Then it was back to the keys. Knees and eyes, dear. Knees and eyes. They always go the first, don't they? Do you by any chance need a hand there? Kendred offered. He trapped his impatience behind his manners as skillfully as trapped magic in metal. Oh, no, I come through this door several times a day, chortled the Galwar. I'll have you in a jiffy. He paused and frowned at Keller's garb. Kendred was clad in an Argonaut suit like the rest, but he wore his straps differently, and it was decorated with the symbols of the dispossessed. Not usual to see a runesmith up in the clouds, said the Galwar, as he dropped his sixth key with a clink. How did you come to serve with someone like Flint, if you don't mind me asking? Actually, that's an interesting tale, Kendred began. But it's also a long tale, and we are lacking in time. Dreki jammed his objection into the gap between Kendred's inhalation of breath and exhalation of explanation. Do you think we could move this along a little? I'm quite busy. This last utterance had the shape, character, and seeming of the truth, but was in fact a lie. His critics, who were many, might have said Dreki had only gone to the Gallo because he had nowhere to be and nothing to do. Barak Mornar had proven as barren of opportunity as most of the distant rocks of the sky shoals. He was curious, though. When a message like that comes, what else are you going to do? Word had come via a young beard from the Runners Guild. It was long and it was burdened with bureaucratic language. It had carried a hefty delivery fee, but the short version was dropped right out of the sky in Chamon, they say, right into their nests, said the Galwar. He said it before a couple of times. A repetitious character and the need to fill the time while he found the right key drove him to say it again. They were deep in the sky shoals. Bolot, venturing that far towards the edge. Anyways, this fellow lands in their nest, ranting and raving he was about the eye and the drop and lost Barak Minoz. Heh, not heard that name for a long time. We lose a lot of outposts. Name of the game, when you're into expansion. Quick and cheap. He spoke this as self-evident, though what this runny-nosed oldster knew about deep air colonization, none of Drekki's crew could say. So they brought him here, to Barak Mornar and Ulgu, along with a hold full of fish. Didn't know what to do with him. Then Fisher Druiden said he just kept telling the same tale over and over, all the way back. So into a comfy cell with him where he's been in this past month. Quiet he's been, mostly, muttering, and then he said, "Aha!" "Aha," said Adrim, who'd heard the story as many times as the others, but was less blessed with brains. "That's what he said?" "No, lad, he didn't. I did. I found the right one." The Gallower held up a key. What the Jisaki said was, "Captain Flint, get me Captain Flint." Then he went back to the raving. Poor fellow doesn't even remember his own name. Captain Flint is the most sensey we can get out of him. The old bear stuck the key into the lock and twisted. The lock clunked impressively. The door swung inwards. A chilly breeze blew at them, full of shouting. They were looking into a large block of cells, a lofty room, 20 ufzen high and 50 long, with 2 floors. The second opened down the center with galleries against each wall. Runs of 10 cells on either side of the room, and on both floors gave 40 cells in total, all uniformly small. 3 armed Duradin in the uniform of the Imkazabargi walked the block, copper badges jangling on their belts and peaked caps, beards trimmed short for safety, hitting the bars with their aether prods. "Quiet," they yelled, to no discernible effect. "They're awful," said Kendred, raising his voice, "and I thought they let the criminals run Morhar, not lock them up." "Kor, look, a bunch of wispy-bearded wazooks," a scruffy-looking aeronauts shouted from the nearest cell. Prison-issue tankards, uniformly small, were rattled along the bars. A chant set up, "Wazox, Wazox, Wazox," said the Gallower. "Sorry, Captain. The arrival of visitors always provokes a rumpus. I'm sure you understand. Ignore them. Your man's down here." He pointed to the end of the hall. The room was ripe, as one might expect even from the large space when full of Duradin in their Grundis and Grundenzaki. All of them had been stripped down to their underwear. It would probably have been riper had the floor not been made of grided mesh that opened directly onto the sky, allowing the cold breeze in and the prisoners' filth out. "Oh, I don't like that," said Kendred, looking down into the infinite grey of Ulug's fog. "Though you'll be used to heights by now." "Thought you'd be used to heights by now, ground pounder," said Adrim. "Used to your flying boats, maybe, but not walking on thin air." "Thick steel," corrected Adrim. "Over thin air." Insisted Kedren. "Keeps down the cleaning and the ventilation bills," said the Gallower. The Gallower said, and sniffed deeply again. "Just hose the place and the prisoners down twice a week. Easy." "Wazox, Wazox, Wazox," shouted the prisoners. There were dozens of them. 4 to a cell, all gleefully chanting, "Wazox, Wazox, Wazox." "No Wazox here," said Drekki, giving them a cheery wave, "except maybe Adrim." Adrim rolled his eyes. "Wazox, Wazox, Wazox." "Pipe down," the guards shouted. They jammed their aether prods through the cell bars and zapped a few of the inmates. This calmed them down a bit, insomuch as they ceased chanting and turned inside to the individual jeers. Some of these were inevitably insulting. Drekki and his crew reached the end of the row. Down that end were a handful of cells which had only 1 occupant apiece, none of whom seemed to be in their rightful mind. Those are all bad, said the Gallower, gesturing behind him at the prisoners. Whereas these here are all, alas, mad. He spun a finger round his temple. One middle-aged Druidian sat on a stool, stark naked, weeping endlessly. Another hopped on about on his haunches, hands held high, squeakily shouting, "I'm a rock skipper!" every fourth hop, in case nobody could tell what he was supposed to be. A third, and this one made them all whinge, was methodically pulling out the last of his beard hairs, bulging eyes staring fixedly at some invisible, terrible sight on the far side of the wall. They won't get me, oh no, he muttered. Poor devils, said Kedren with a shake of his head. This isn't right. They should be somewhere better than this. We're in Mornar, remember? Adrim replied. Scant comfort here. Here we are, said the Gallower, going to halt by the final cell. This is the chap. A lump lay under a dirty blanket on one of the cell's 4 bunk beds. Got visitors for you, nameless one, said the Gallower gently. Wakey, wakey. The lump stirred. The blanket slipped off. An unkempt Druidian peered out of them sleepily. When he saw Drake, his eyes widened with delight, though not as wide as Kendren's went. It can't be, Kendra said. Captain Flint, oh, Captain Flint, toots and whistles and all the pretty airfish. It is you. The Druidian threw himself to the deck and began to cry in happiness, thumping the deck grill with grubby fists. I'm saved! I'm saved! Do you know who he is, then? Asked the Gallower. Are you willing to take charge of him? Of course I know who he is, said Dreki. This is Eftor Bjarnisson, my signaler. It is him, said Kendren. Eftor? You're not dead? Adrim just gasped. Yes, Eftor. Eftor shouted happily. That's my name. His filthy face creased with confusion. I think that's my name. Was my name? Is? He blinked. Grand, the Gallower puffed with satisfaction. That's a rare happy ending. We were doubtful we'll find out. It was very difficult to get the right fellow among the hundreds of sky captains trogging the docks. Good for him, your ship was on the registry, and there are not 2 Dreki Flints. A world with 2 Dreki Flints, said Kendren. Perish the thought. Well, here I am, said Dreki crispily, and there is only 1 Dreki Flint. I'm surprised you haven't heard of me. No, said the Gallower, shaking his head. Can't say that I have. You should have, Evotar said enthusiastically. He's a hero, a swashbuckler, a rogue, a pilot, an engineer, and he's here to save me. Captain, my captain. Really? You look more like a pirate to me. I'm not a pirate, said Dreki. Of course not, said the Gallower with a wink. Dreki scowled and turned to Eftor. Your brother is going to be so pleased to see you, he said. We've missed you. We didn't miss his poems much, grumbled Adrim. I'm cold, Eftor said abruptly, and snatched his blanket off the bed. He cuddled into it. So cold. Are you going to let him out then? Said Dreki to the Gallower. Let's get him home and warmed up. The Gallower scratched the back of his neck and looked down through the steel grill as though there was something of great interest in hiding in the midst below. Ah, yes, about that. I did say there was a funding crisis when it comes to the care of fellows such as this poor, lost, now found soul. He shook his head at the tragedy of it. We've got overheads here. Food, cleaning, fresh bedding. How's a host count as cleaning? You cheating Skybeard? Kendren growled. Water cost, said the Gallower sadly. Then there was the message fee, which I paid, said Dreki. The Gallower was not dissuaded. And the fee for looking up who you were and finding out. He sucked his teeth. A crying shame these folks get stuck in here. What are we to do? A charitable donation would not go amiss to help the next poor fellow who comes along. How much? Said Dreki. He'd brought his pouch of Mornar thalers because there really was no such thing as charity in Barak Mornar. Even so, the amount the Gallower named made them all splutter. And you say I'm a pirate, Dreki said. Thieves, the lot of you, said Kendren. To your own kind, no less. You'd fleet your mother if there was profit in it. Oh, that's unfair. So unfair, said the Gallower. Why, there was another lot looking for him, but he didn't want to go with them, so I didn't send him. A kindness if you ask me. Surely a Druidin should be rewarded a little for his kindness. Dricky and his fellows shared the troubled look. These others, who were they? Said Dricky suspiciously. A roster of foes throttled through his mind. He was not short of enemies who might profit from holding Evotar captive. Some company code right, said the Gallower, stroking his beard. She wouldn't give her name. He raised his eyebrows meaningfully. A bit too mysterious for my blood. We at the Guild of Correction are an honest lot, and can be good to the likes of this poor fellow, he said, pointing at Kendron. On the other hand, if you want to cast apprehension on my moral character, you go ahead. There are people who will give me more respect and more money. So we take him now, or not at all, because you'll sell him to the others? Said Kendron. That's outrageous! The Gallower blew his nose again, and affected a sorrowful expression. It's more than fair, it is what that is. What I want from you is only, he opened his hand and held his palm flat, a small consideration. And his gear? Where is it? Ah, that yes, upstairs with your weapons in the guard post. That'll be extra. The Gallower smiled. Salvageable, right? You see? You get half and remain cheered by your moral rectitude. Now open that door, said Dreki with menace. Troic thrilled threateningly. The little drill on his beak rotated. The Gallower sniggered. Oh dear me, I'm holding all the cards here. You know that, don't you? Come on now, fair is fair, and I've been more than fair. Grumbly, Dreki reached for his money pouch. It was worryingly light on ether tokens already, and was virtually empty once he'd paid. But what was he going to do? Avatar was back from the dead.